G'day, my name's Nathaniel Garvin, and today we're going to be talking about Parkinson's disease with Ruth Musgrove, the Postdoctoral Research Fellow at the University of Tasmania, Menzies Institute for Medical Research. Now, last time, Ruth and I, we were talking about a few areas of Parkinson's disease research, particularly how the disease progresses, finding biomarkers and stem cell therapy. Good morning, Ruth. How are you going today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Great, thank you. Can you talk to us about what aspects of the disease that you're working on? So we're talking again about how the disease progresses, also finding biomarkers and stem cell therapy. But what are the areas that you're working on?
So we're currently working on how the disease progresses. And we know that the disease can be caused by so many different factors, and it's really difficult to define what's the cause of Parkinson's disease. And it's so difficult to detect the disease in the early stages. But we do think that once the disease process has initiated, that there's a common set of mechanisms that cause the disease to progress. And we're trying to understand what these mechanisms are and hope to be able to therapeutically target and stop, or at least really slow down that progression of the disease. And from the patient's perspective, I think that the therapeutic options that we're really ultimately working to develop will not reverse the disease symptoms as such, but they will prevent or slow the worsening of the disease. And in the future, we can envisage that these therapeutics could be used maybe in conjunction with other tools that might restore some of the motor function. So we talked a little bit last time about stem cell therapy that could be used to restore some of the motor function that's lost in that disease, in combination with therapeutics that could prevent the disease from further progressing.
When people think about the disease progression, they often think about it in terms of symptoms worsening or developing new symptoms. Can you explain what are the stages of Parkinson's disease progression?
Sure. So there are several ways to view the progression or the staging of Parkinson's disease. And traditionally, these have focused on the motor symptoms because these were the most obvious symptoms of the disease. So in the stage one, it might be very mild and might only affect one side of the body. And the patient might notice a slight tremor, just a unilateral or in one side of the body. And if this progresses to stage two, you'd have a little bit of an increase in the stiffness and the tremors, and you might have some more postural symptoms of the disease, so a stiffness in your posture. It's not really till stage three that the disease would impact on your daily life, and you might have more noticeable trembling, and really in stage three there's changes in the facial expression, so you can often get that blank stare that's associated with Parkinson's disease. And often in stage three you'd have an increase in the number of falls that a patient might experience. I think the thing that distinguishes the third stage, that stage three, from the progression into the later stages, stage 4 and 5, is the ability of patients to live independently. So in stage 4 you start to really rely on other people for your daily activities. And in stage 5, you might have advanced stiffness in your legs and it's difficult to walk or to move. And so you might have to require a wheelchair. And also in stage 4 and 5, these are the really advanced stages, and up to 30% of the patients in these stages might have some cognitive decline or some confusion or hallucination. And this is quite common. But it's important to notice that the progression of Parkinson's disease and how fast it progresses is really different according to each patient. And it might take years to progress from stage 1 to stage 2, and so on and so on. So it's a very slow process.
How do these stages reflect what's going on inside the person with Parkinson's brain?
When somebody has been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, they're usually experiencing some of the motor symptoms. And the motor symptoms we know are associated with loss of nerve cell function in the brain and some death of certain neurons in the brains. And one of the regions of the brains that most heavily affected by Parkinson's disease is called the substantia nigra, and that's really important for our ability to control and to initiate motor function. So by the time a patient's experiencing motor function, there's likely to be some death of this region of the brain. But when you look inside the brain, what we notice more prevalently than the loss of neurons is actually something called Lewy body pathology. And I have some diagrams to show what this looks like in.
Ruth, that Lewy body diagram that looked kind of like a modern art piece, this one here, thank you. Tell me again how that works, because it looks amazing, but what's happening there? So tell me if you can just explain it again, because I was still taking it all in as you were explaining it. Yeah, okay, thank you. That makes a little bit clearer. Um, Tell me, what about the non-motor symptoms that you mentioned? What specific aspects of the disease progression are you working on? Brilliant. Well, it'd be great to find out more about what you're up to. That'd be fantastic. Thank you again, Ruth, for catching up with us today, and we'll catch you next time.